Hi, so today I'm taking you behind the scenes of my photo studio, which is really my living room. And today is really an experiment. It could totally not work out. I'm going to attempt and take a fine art self-portrait. So I'm going to be the photographer and the model. And a lot of things could go wrong with this, really. So I need to get the pose and framing right. The photo needs to be sharp. I need to get the makeup exactly how I want it. And once I've taken the shot, hopefully the editing will also work out the way I imagine it. So let me take you behind the scenes of this photo shoot. And of course, I'm going to show you every step of the way and explain exactly what I'm doing. So let's go and get this photo shoot done. Okay, so now let's get into the actual setup for this shoot. For this photo, I want it to look like I'm in this snowy landscape, so I'm going to composite a different background in later. To do that, I will have to cut once I've taken the photo, I will have to cut myself out from the backdrop, and that will be easier because I have dark hair if I have a white backdrop. Also, the landscape I'm gonna composite in is gonna be like a sort of white pink tone landscape, so that will match quite well. So that's why I'm using a white backdrop today. Also, I'm trying to recreate the lighting that you would have in a snowy landscape with like a cloudy sky. And so I'm using one softbox today. This is one I use quite a lot actually because it's very universal. And I'm going to place it most likely sort of above me, angled down, because think about it, if you're outside, the lighting is also above you, so I'm trying to recreate a fairly natural lighting. Also, I'm using a softbox because the lighting is very even, and the backdrop I'm using is also evenly lit, so hopefully that will match in my composite later on. Next thing, I'm going to shoot slightly underexposed because I like to use dodge and burn in Photoshop to paint in highlights and shadows. So it's better to start with a slightly underexposed base so I can really amp up the highlights later. I'm probably gonna use 50mm or 35mm lens depending on how it looks when I do my test shots. And you can see here I have the wireless trigger attached to the camera. That triggers the flash head, which is attached to the softbox. Here you can actually see it. This is the flash I'm gonna use today. And that's really it for the studio setup. The next step is now to get my makeup done, which I'm gonna do myself. So wish me luck. Right, so now the next step is my makeup, and this is where it could go really, really wrong because I'm not a makeup artist and that's often the most challenging step for me, but it doesn't stop me from trying. So let me explain what I'm doing. So the concept for this makeup, I have this prop for the photo shoot, which is a fake magnolia flower, which I've sprayed with snow spray or whatever it's called. And I'm gonna be wearing that cape at the back there, which is a furry cape, by the way, totally faux fur, so no animals harmed. So I want my makeup to look like I've just been out in the cold, so really like almost frostbitten, super red cheeks, icy crystals on the hair. I don't know if it's gonna look the way I want it to, but I give it my best shot. By the way, this is just a little interruption to say please subscribe to my channel if you like this video. It will help me so much and I can make even more content for you. Thank you, and back to the video. Okay, so at the moment I look more like a clown, but I hope that I can somehow make it work also with Photoshop, and I'm gonna put some fake snowflakes onto my skin and hair in a moment. So yeah, I'm still optimistic. Okay, so I've added some snowflakes now to my hair and my face. Also realized this is a really stupid idea because I'm gonna have to hoover the whole flat, but that's creativity, isn't it? So now I'm gonna hop into my studio space and explain to you how I'm actually going to take these photos. Okay, so I'm back in the studio space here, and I've just taken a few test shots to make sure the lighting is right. And I've decided to use the 35mm lens, so I have a bit more of the background around me. Now for the actual photo shoot, I'm going to use my phone connected to the camera, and then I can focus on the screen, and I can also trigger the shutter via the phone screen. This is the best method I've tried so far for taking self-portraits. And when you do this, also it's very important to set your camera autofocus to face or eye recognition, and then usually that works pretty well to actually get your face into focus. By the way, I just wanted to tell you something quickly. If you also want to take self-portraits like this, but you don't really have ideas for your photo shoots, you can download my free ebook. It contains 50 ideas for self-portraits. It's completely free. I'm going to link it below in the description. Now back to the video. Okay, so I'm gonna now start taking the actual photo. This is a bit of a tricky process sometimes because I usually don't like my pose in in the beginning and the facial expression can take a while to get it right. So I'm just gonna play and take like a good few shots to hopefully get a good one. Okay, so now I've taken like 50 photos or so. I'm just gonna import them into Lightroom because I actually want to see if I have the shot or not. And I always do this after the first half or so of my shoot, just to check how it's going, if things are actually sharp. And if I already have a photo I like, of course, I stop, because this is hard work. So I always zoom in now and I can see that this photo, for example, is nice and sharp. So I know that the focus is working well. And then the next thing I check is sort of the facial expression, if I got kind of the look I wanted. And also I always check the hands, because it's actually quite hard to pose hands so they don't look like claws. Like here, for example, this I like, but then some of them, actually they are alright, but yeah, this doesn't look nice. So that's also important to get right. So yeah, I'm gonna go through them now again and see if I actually have a shot I am happy with or if I have to continue. To be honest, I really don't feel like going on because already the snow is kind of gone off everywhere, so I would have to put more snowflakes on. The whole flat is full of snowflakes. I'm a little bit tired, I'm hungry. Yeah, it's not really always fun, to be honest. That's also part of the behind the scenes. I would rather stop now because I've had enough. This cape is super hot because it's not actually frosty winter, it's like late October. So yeah, let me check if I have a shot, and if not, I go back and take some more shots. Right, I was lucky, I actually had a shot I was happy with. So for the final part of the video, I just quickly want to talk you through the edits I made, so you can see how I took the photo from raw file to final image. This is pretty much the raw file, I just cropped it. And then the first thing I did was to change some shapes. You can see here, for example, this hair curl that was annoying me. So I used Liquify filter to change the shapes. You can see also I changed a bit of the coat just to make it a bit more symmetrical. Then the next thing I did was to add the backdrop. This is part of the backdrop image. It was actually a square image originally, and I created this in Midjourney using AI. Then the next step I did was to cut out the subject, so that's me, and I added that onto the backdrop. And then I went back and made some lighting and exposure adjustments to the backdrop to kind of make it match a bit better. Then I changed a lot of color and exposure settings. Also, for example, the cape, you can see it's kind of yellow and I wanted it a bit more white, like that. So that were all these color and exposure edits. Then the next thing I did was a quick skin retouch. I used this app for that. I used to do frequency separation and all that stuff, but I don't anymore because the tools these days are pretty good. So that's that. Then, because I had cut myself out from the backdrop, I had a bit of messiness around the head. You see here the hair. It just looks not quite realistic. And so I added in some artificial hair, basically. You probably don't see a big difference, but it does simply make it look a little bit more real. Especially here, if you look on the left side. That was before, after. Right, then I changed a bit more colors. For example, the eye color. And I also added some highlights to the eyes. This is very subtle, but I do think it makes a difference. This is before and with the highlights. Then I wanted to bring back a bit of the redness. You know, in the makeup you saw I had a lot of red cheeks and red nose and stuff, and my color edits got rid of that a little bit. So I added it back in using the brush tool. So you can see here it's a bit more pale, and here the cheeks are a little bit more red again. Before, after. I also added it to the hand because I thought, well, if you're outside in the cold, your hand gets pretty red too. Have a look, before, after. Okay, then I just used the mixer brush on the flower to make it look a little bit less fake. Don't know if I succeeded, but I tried. And then I did some more lighting edits just to, I don't know, blend everything a bit more. So before, after. I tried to make it more obvious that this area should be darker, because in real life, as you saw, my light source was somewhere here. So the most light should be here, whereas this area should be slightly darker. Then I did my favorite thing in Photoshop at the moment, which is adding some atmosphere. I just use a brush at very low opacity and sample colors from different areas and sort of brush over it. And it makes the image look very painterly. Have a look. This is before I did the atmosphere and after. And then the next thing I did was to add some snow, just using noise and motion blur filter. And then I did some last edits, just color and lighting a little bit more, changing the exposure, and that is the final image. Hope you found this video helpful. Make sure to subscribe. See you next time.